Greetings, Gothamites. K-Wing here, and no Batman video today. Today's news is all about Dan DiDio's firing. I guess we're on 3 now, because I did a maniacal live stream where I called Dan a comic book villain, and then a day later, based on another story I heard, I saw Dan as kind of like a martyr and felt bad and depressed. Now I'm back on Dan being a villain again, and I'm going to tell you why. But before I get to that, I just want to let you guys know that we actually posted a gaming video on this channel for the first time in a very long time, and it is not Dark Knight related. Nothing about Batman. It's Samurai Showdown for the Nintendo Switch. You guys can show it some love, and if you enjoy that, we will do more gaming videos on Tuesday. So with that shameless plug out of the way, let's talk about DC 5G. So, just so you guys know, DC 5G was the 5th generation of what DC Comics was going to be, and it was going to be super contemporary, extremely PC. And they were going to kill Bruce Wayne, Diana, Clark Kent, John Stewart, Barry Allen, possibly Cyborg. They were going to change Nightwing. They were going to mess with some of the Robins and kill more legacy characters. So all around, as a fan of legacy characters, such as my boy Nightwing, who I've been following for 30 plus years, was not a good outcome for DC Comics. And apparently there is a division at DC about 5G, because there's 2 ways that people would like this to go. And the only way I can do this is by explaining the 2 different types of Wonder Woman that would be used in 5G. Let's talk with the newest rumor, which actually isn't too bad. It would involve Cassie becoming Wonder Woman after both Donna and Diana are gone, which not really thrilled about the Donna thing because she just came back a little while ago, but that's besides the point. So Cassie would be Wonder Woman, but it would be more like the Squirrel Girl thing. So rumors say that she would be a little bit on the thick side, but more so. So like curvy, but plus size curvy. So I guess, I don't know, Cassie got depressed over Wonder Woman and Donna and just like ate some Kentucky Fried Chicken. A lot of it. I don't know. But she would look different than you've seen her in the Young Justice books currently. Also, the second version of 5G would involve a man as Wonder Woman, which the Twitter Puritans, the crazies, the NPCs on social media and Reset Era and all these other places have been praising the PC-ness of having a man as Wonder Woman. And I just want to say that Mander Woman is a stupid idea because little girls all over the world look up to a woman as Wonder Woman. She's supposed to be like the Superman version for girls. She always has been. When I heard that, I was like, they can't do that. Gal Gadot's not going to support that. I mean, Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. What? Okay. So that was the 5G that I was familiar with and why I was just like, okay, that's bad. But I didn't know that Cyborg was going to be on the chopping block and they were going to get rid of John Stewart. When John Stewart doesn't even have his solo book, he just became the leader of the Justice League. I mean, seriously, he just took over the Justice League less than 2 months ago. And he's having kind of a rocky leadership right now. So you're telling me that by October or whatever, when this whole 5G thing supposedly releases, then John is going to be like just transitioned out of his role so quickly? That's not right. I mean, John has been a great member of the Justice League for like 40 years, but he's the leader of the Justice League right now. I mean, come on, DC. I mean, that's dumb. And Barry Allen, something would happen to him, and Captain Cold's son would be the Flash. It's just kind of like, I don't really know enough about Captain Cold's son to really care, I guess. And besides, Wally is my Flash, and he's evil currently, so I don't care about the Flash anymore right now. Once Wally's back, then Flash will be restored. But until then, strange things are going to happen. So, now you know what 5G was, and everybody was kind of concerned with the all-new, all-different Marvel, Well, this was going to be worse than that, like way worse. And Luke Fox's Batman costume, by the way, would look kind of like the Bob Kane costume, the original drafting idea of Batman, such as a red suit with the blue boots and domino mask and stuff like that. So that's what Luke Fox would look like, except he'd be happier because he doesn't have a lot of tragedy. His dad's fine, his family's fine. So, I mean, it would kind of be like a golden age hero in that sense. He would also be foregoing his awesome bat armor, which, have you seen what he looks like in his armor? I mean, come on. You could give him a solo book just like that, DC. Why? You want to do diversity? Where's Luke Fox's bat book? Huh? He's been a side character for years, and it's just, I don't know. That triggers me. I'm triggered. I'm triggered right now. Okay, so now you know what 5G was. It was supposed to be the new launch of DC Comics. The old books would all be canceled outright, or not canceled. They would just end because a crisis is coming. And if you didn't know this, we are currently living in the crisis age for DC Comics, 1985 through 2020. So that's what crisis is, 35 years. It's also, DC is celebrating 85 years of existence. So this was supposed to be a big deal. However, the crisis event that gets rid of all our favorite characters and legacy characters and things like that wasn't supposed to happen until around December. But because of what happened now, people are saying that it's being moved up to October with a San Diego Comic-Con announcement or a big push for it at the event. Maybe even something's going to happen at C2E2 now, or was, and that's why Dan was fired, but we'll get into that. So it wasn't going to be like a Marvel thing. The thing that you were hearing from people prior to Dan being fired, that, oh, nothing to worry about, this is just like the ultimate line that Marvel had, but this is for DC, so it's a more contemporary, younger thing for Batman comics and everything like that, with Luke in the lead. No, that's not what it was. So that information was false. It was a full-blown reboot with everything. All the Bat books would be Luke. We don't know what would happen to the Robins. We don't know what would happen to the Justice League. Everything would be brand spanking new. Think of it like the New 52. Everything would be wiped out. And this caused some concern for longtime fans and people that just came back because of DC Rebirth. So that's why I was upset. Okay? Now, so you know what that's about. Let's talk about Danny Boy. So Danny Boy was not a martyr. Danny Boy was fired because he crossed the line. And apparently he was already in hot water with AT&T and Warner Brothers from the I don't really want to talk about this, but from the Bat package issue where Bruce Wayne showed his family jewels to the world. And AT&T and Warner Brothers were not happy about that because it put a smudge or a blemish on Batman's image. And these big corporations are all about image, so that's a no-go. Also, this image thing is going to be very important as we reach why Dan was fired, according to the second side of the story. So AT&T did fire Dan. That's the same in both versions of the story, but one version, which was going around Friday and Saturday, because, on the weekend things can get like kind of, how rumors change and things like that. I heard it one way, another person heard it this way, and the information gets filtered along the way before you get to it, kind of like a game of telephone. So it's true that Dan stood up to AT&T. However, he stood up in favor of 5G being even more contemporary and extremely PC over what AT&T and Warner Brothers thought 5G was, which is another universe that would be the big push and there would be more books for, which is fine, and no one would have an issue with that. But Dan wanted it to be a full-blown reboot, and AT&T said no. Their compromise was for a Marvel Ultimate Universe known as DC 5G, which would have more books and more push. But for people like me that don't want to read that trash, then we could still get a few or a handful of books by like Scott Snyder and James Tynion, and the Batman line would remain the same. The Superman books by Bendis would changed to John Kent. Um, so, I mean, that wouldn't really be the same, but there would be some writers keeping the old DC line alive, which is exactly what happened in the New 52. The New 52 was actually the rebirth of a couple DC universes, Earth 2 and Earth Prime. And technically, there was another Earth too, where Justice League 3000 took place, which was hilarious, by the way. Great book, a lot of fun to read. So yeah, that was what AT&T thought. But comic book villain Dan, with his fingers kind of pyramid style on his desk, and I'm just picturing this in my mind. Okay, it probably didn't happen this way. I doubt Dan was sitting in his office when AT&T came in there and was like, "Well, hello there." And I could just picture AT&T walking into Dan's office and seeing his hit list on the wall with his whiteboard already frantically writing all the characters that would die or change like Iceman. So, I mean, already AT&T is getting a interesting picture of Dan. And remember, Dan's already in hot water from Batwang. And also, there's a little bit more to this story. Apparently, Scott Snyder and Danny Boy got into a heated discussion about 5G and the direction of the Bat books. Like, Snyder's line would end before he could finish what he was writing. And he never really agreed to do the 5G thing. He was told that he could keep writing his Batman stories and DC would publish them. There's graphic novels, all that other stuff. No problems, right? Well, Dan, was going to change things, according to things that I've heard and other reporters are speaking about as well. And that didn't sit well. So a few days later, not saying that Scott did this, but I did follow him on Twitter because I hope he did tell AT&T and Warner Brothers, because then he's the hero of this story. But AT&T a couple days later went to talk to Dan. Dan was an immovable wall. When they were speaking to him about 5G and what their plans for what they would like 5G to be. And he was just kind of like, no, I don't think so. I think we're going to do 5G the way that I want because I'm Dan and you can't get rid of... You're fired, Dan. Oh. Yeah. So something like that, like Dr. Evil. So, yeah. Things fell through. It was not a normal firing where usually companies are like, I am taking a break and, I'm retiring. I've been here a very long time. Dan did not get that courtesy. He was told to leave the building. I don't believe there was a big scene. No one's reporting on like him trying to leap over the desk and, like attack the executives who came to speak to him. But poor Jim Lee was exhausted from all his art and things that he loves to do, that he didn't find out about it until Saturday. It was like early Saturday morning that he woke up, because I can relate to Jim, because when I work all the time on my videos for my second channel, I can sleep easily about 22 hours after being up for 3 days straight. So it's not uncommon to just like take a long nap and then wake up a few days later. And then he had this giant bombshell dropped on him like, oh, by the way, you're now the publisher and chief operating officer of DC. And Jim really is probably like, say what? And Jim even has a YouTube channel where he likes to draw and stuff like that. So it's kind of, I feel bad for him personally, But that's more or less how different people are saying the second side to the story happened. AT&T, the reason why they got rid of him is because they're expecting DC to be producing things that they can use in films, movies, and TV shows. And because certain contemporary aspects of DC are not performing well on television, they're certainly not going to do well in the movies right now. So they expect that somebody seeing Robert Pattinson as Batman on the silver screen would get a Bruce Wayne as Batman in the comics or graphic novels, and not Luke Fox. Same thing with Gal Gadot. People are going to be seeing the new Wonder Woman 84 movie this year, and if they want to follow Wonder Woman's adventures, they can go to DC and read about it, and they wouldn't have to worry about Mander Woman. So you could see kind of where AT&T is coming from this. Now, the rumor that's going around that I just want to talk about, which I don't believe this is true, but again, I don't have the connections that I used to, so I'm getting the secondhand. Um, so one of them is that they're considering the AT&T and T and Warner Brothers executives in replacing some of the bad seeds and bringing in script writers from the movies, like people like J.J. Abrams and the guy who's doing the Suicide Squad, James Gunn, and having them write a graphic novel, thinking that will do well and something that they could translate into the movies later, which is kind of a smart thing, to be honest. I mean, sometimes when these big Hollywood writer people come in and they do stuff, the books do really well. But I still believe that would take away from comic book writer jobs, like the good ones. I'm not talking about the crazy NPC people that got hired by Danny. I'm talking about talented writers. The other rumor is, which I believe Bleeding Cool was the one that started this one, that Jeff Loeb, the former Marvel guy and the writer from The Long Halloween, was seen walking into DC's offices on Monday. This is the next day now. Wait, is today Monday? No. What is? I don't know what today is. I can't keep track of my days anymore because I'm up so long. You people have no idea how hard my life is. But he was seen walking into the offices of AT&T and Warner Brothers, and he just left his job at Marvel Television because he was replaced by Kevin Feige. I want to say in January or at the end of December. So if he's coming back, that's interesting. But currently, Jim Lee is the only publisher at DC, and I don't believe they have any plans to make Jeff Johns or Paul Dini or any of those people. Dini is back at DC, if you guys didn't know. He left DC and went to Marvel. He's came back to DC to work on a new line of Batman the Animated Series books, bringing in Red Hood and other characters that weren't around at the time of Batman the Animated Series. So he's happy to be back, and I don't know what is going to happen. I don't know, other than if 5G is going to release this fall or not. Things are kind of a mess right now. Information is all scattered around, so I'm just kind of picking at pieces about what could happen and what couldn't, you know? And I may keep following up on this because I do find it fascinating. But anyway, now I want to hear from all of you guys. What did you think about today's update? Do you believe that Dan was fired because of the 5G thing going too far and not being like its own ultimate universe type thing? Or do you think he was fired for another reason, such as what was discussed 2 or 3 days ago? Personally, I believe that this one has a lot of weight to it as being true. And just knowing how much of a hothead Dan is when he doesn't get his way, like when he couldn't kill Nightwing in Forever Evil and Infinite Crisis, things like that. I could see things getting pretty heated when AT&T spoke to him, and also changing how they want the line to be. So I think there's a lot of truth to it. I am totally fine, just so you know, with 5G being not the main canon universe. If they want to make it a separate universe and push that for a year or two and still continue the books that we came back to, the people who returned for DC Rebirth, who kind of like hightailed it out of there for the New 52, I think that would be the smartest move business-wise, because I believe that if DC does this, it's going to hurt their bottom line more than they think. And, you know, I don't believe it's a smart choice. And I would hate to see a lot of books end that are good replaced with a lot of garbage books from people that aren't even talented comic book writers. That's just my 2 cents. But I hope you guys have a great one. I will have the Robert Pattinson Bat video up in a couple days. I need to change some things because more of the suit was made available in some pictures that dropped recently. I'm talking about like yesterday. There were some more pictures, so I could see more of the suit as opposed to the first day of that stunt double guy. So yeah, I'm going to mess around with that. And the Paul Dini video will be going up this week, and possibly a Bat lore next week on the... I wanted to do Dark Victory, but I think I need to finish the Kingdom Come lore. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much for watching. Again, please support the awesome Samurai Showdown video that went up. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much for listening, and I will see you in the next video, Gothamites. Peace.